A $200 dress sitting in your closet for 3 years costs less per wear than a $40 fast fashion piece you throw away after 6 uses. Parisian women have understood this arithmetic for generations. They do not buy more, they buy better. And the brands they actually wear, the ones you find hanging in real Parisian apartments, not in tourist-targeted boutiques near the Seine, are almost never the ones glossy magazines tell you about. We tested 8 criteria: country of manufacture, fabric composition, construction method, price stability, brand independence, customer return rate, longevity of design, and real-world cost per wear. 8 brands passed at a level worth your attention. We are counting them down from number 8. Number 8, Rouje. Rouje was founded in 2017 by Jean Damas, a French model and photographer whose personal style became so consistently referenced online that launching a brand felt less like a business decision and more like an inevitability. What Damas understood from the beginning is that Parisian style is not a collection of items. It is a relationship between the body, the fabric, and the occasion. Rouge's signature piece, the Gabin dress, is a study in that philosophy. It is cut to allow movement without excess volume, constructed from viscose that drapes rather than clings, and designed without a single trend-driven detail that would date it by next season. The price point sits between $140 and $220 for most dresses. For a garment that functions as a daily driver across a minimum of 4 years of activewear, the math works. Rouje does not run seasonal sales. The brand holds its prices because the design is intentional, not reactive. When a single silhouette sells continuously for 6 years without revision, you are not looking at a trend, you are looking at a standard. Number 7, Jacquemus. Simon Porte Jacquemus founded his label in 2010 at the age of 19, naming it after his mother's maiden name. The brand's Mediterranean sensibility, loose linen, deep cutouts, wide brims earned it genuine cultural traction before the fashion industry fully understood what was happening. Parisian women buy Jacquemus not because it is prestigious, but because it solves a real wardrobe problem. The pieces work in heat, they move well, they photograph honestly, the construction is clean, seams are finished properly. Linings are cut with the same care as outer shells. The retail range sits between $200 and $800 depending on category, with the most wearable, ready-to-wear pieces clustering between $200 and $350. Jacquemus remains independently owned and has resisted acquisition, which means design decisions still flow from a single creative vision rather than a licensing committee. When the person who cut the first pattern still approves the current collection, the brand has not yet been hollowed out. Number 6, Cesson. Cesson was founded in Marseille in 2002 by Emma Francois, and it operates outside the Parisian fashion axis in a way that has made it more honest rather than less relevant. The brand's aesthetic is rooted in natural fabrics, linen, organic cotton, and responsible wool blends. And its construction ethics are documented and verifiable. Cesson publishes its manufacturing partners and traces each fabric to its origin. The retail price range sits between $80 and $260 for most pieces, a range that reflects genuine production costs rather than inflated brand positioning. Parisian women who know Cesson buy it for its consistency. A Cesson linen shirt from 4 years ago and one from this season are indistinguishable in quality because the brand has not chased growth by cutting corners. The silhouettes are relaxed without being shapeless, structured without being stiff. Cesson proves that a brand can be regional in its roots and universal in its output without ever needing a flagship store on a famous boulevard to validate itself. Number 5, Sandro. Sandro was founded in Paris in 1984 by Evelyn Chetrite and sits in a category that is often misunderstood. It is not a luxury brand, it is not a fast fashion brand. It occupies the productive middle ground where construction quality is visible and price points are accessible to a working adult without financial gymnastics. The brand's blazers are its benchmark piece. The internal structure uses interfacing that holds its shape through repeated cleaning cycles. The outer wool and wool blend fabrics come from mills that supply to mid-tier luxury houses as well. Retail sits between $180 and $450 for tailored pieces. Sandro became part of the SMCP group, which also owns Marge and Claudie Pierlot, and that corporate structure has occasionally introduced pressure toward volume. But the core construction philosophy has held. Parisian women who wear Sandro are making a practical calculation. They want a blazer that survives 3 years of commutes, client meetings, and weekend dinners without looking exhausted. Sandro, at its best, delivers that. Number 4, Isabelle Marant. Isabelle Marant launched her label in 1994 and built it on a single design principle that has never wavered. Clothes should look like you did not try. The execution of that principle is technically demanding. A jacket that appears effortless in fit requires precise pattern work. A bootcut trouser that falls correctly on the hip needs a grade system calibrated to real bodies rather than Fashion Week samples. Marant's construction has remained consistently above the mid-luxury threshold. The brand uses French and Portuguese ateliers for its main lines and publishes supply chain transparency on request. Retail sits between $250 and $900. The pieces that Parisian women actually repeat, the Étoile line in particular, cluster between $250 and $450 and are built from cotton and linen blends sourced from certified mills. Isabelle Marant has resisted the temptation to inflate the logo and deflate the fabric, which is the defining failure of most brands that reach her level of cultural recognition. The logo is almost invisible. The construction does the work. Number 3, A.P.C. Jean Tuitu founded A.P.C, which stands for Atelier de Production et de Création, in Paris in 1987 as a direct rejection of the excess that defined fashion in that decade. The brand's founding principle was rigor. Straight cuts, quality denim, honest fabrics, no embellishment that does not serve a structural purpose. Nearly 4 decades later, that principle is still operating. A.P. Denim is its most studied product. The brand sources raw selvedge denim from Japanese mills, a standard that requires a higher production cost but produces a fabric that molds to the wearer's body over time rather than degrading uniformly. A pair of A.P.C. jeans retails between $200 and $250. Worn 3 times a week over 3 years, the cost per wear falls below 30 cents. No fast fashion denim survives 3 years of that frequency. A.P.C. also maintains a repair program for its denim, which signals a level of confidence in construction that brands relying on planned obsolescence cannot afford to offer. Parisian women who wear A.P.C. are not following a trend. They are buying into a system. The system rewards patience and penalizes the habit of constant replacement. Number 2, Vanessa Bruno. Vanessa Bruno founded her label in 1996 with a philosophy that sounds simple until you try to execute it. Make clothes for women who dress for themselves. The practical outcome of that philosophy is a wardrobe built on texture, proportion, and restraint. Bruno's most iconic piece, the Cabas tote, is constructed from cotton canvas with sequin trim and has remained in production, essentially unchanged, since 2001. That continuity is a quality signal. Brands that change their signature pieces annually are chasing attention. Brands that maintain a single silhouette for more than 2 decades are confident in the product. Bruno's ready-to-wear line uses natural fibers almost exclusively. Linen blends from French mills, wool from certified Italian suppliers, silk from long-standing Portuguese partners. The retail range sits between $160 and $500. The brand remains independently controlled, which means no licensing deals diluting the design authority and no parent company forcing a diffusion line that undercuts the main collection. When you put on a Vanessa Bruno piece and it feels exactly like what you expected, that consistency is not an accident. It is the result of 28 years of refusing to compromise on the thing that made the brand worth trusting in the first place. Number 1, Rouje. Rouje is the brand that operates farthest outside public awareness while delivering the most concentrated version of everything this list has described. Founded in Amsterdam and adopted with genuine enthusiasm by the Parisian market, Rouje was established in 2021 by Marcia Caparasso, whose prior experience in fabric sourcing shaped the brand's construction logic from its first season. The name is pronounced to rhyme with way, and once you encounter the fabric quality in person, the name becomes impossible to forget. Rouje works almost exclusively with dead stock and surplus fabric sourced from Italian and French mills, which means every piece is produced in a limited run by definition. There are no mass production runs. There is no offshore scaling. The silhouettes are wide, architectural, and built for a woman who reads volume as confidence rather than concealment. The retail range sits between $300 and $800. For what you are receiving, that is a compression of value that the market has not yet corrected. The construction is benchmarked to standards that mid-luxury houses charge 3 times as much to deliver. Internal seams are finished with the same care as external ones. The lining fabric is weighted to match the outer shell so the garment hangs without pulling. Closures are sourced from the same hardware suppliers used by heritage French houses. Rouje does not advertise. It does not run seasonal markdowns. It does not seed product to influencers for campaign reach. The brand grows by word of mouth among women who have worn the pieces and returned for more. That is the most honest quality signal available in the contemporary market. When a brand with no marketing budget sells out every run and maintains a waitlist, the product is doing the work. Rouje is doing the work. 8 brands, 1 clear lesson. The Parisian wardrobe is not built in a weekend with a credit card. It is assembled over years with an understanding that the most expensive purchase you can make in clothing is the one you replace in 6 months. A $250 A.P.C. jacket worn 4 times a week for 4 years costs less per wear than a $60 high street alternative worn 30 times before it loses its shape permanently. The brands on this list are not selling you prestige. They are selling you construction, fabric integrity, and design stability. Those 3 things, construction, fabric, and stability, are what the fast fashion industry has systematically trained you to stop expecting. The brands robbing you blind rely on you never calculating the cost of replacement. These 8 brands rely on you never needing to. The next time you hold a garment, check the seam allowance. Pull the fabric gently at the bias. Look at how the lining is attached at the hem. Ask yourself if this piece will look the same in 5 years as it does today. If the answer is yes, the price is almost always worth it. If the answer is uncertain, put it back. If this breakdown helped you understand why Parisian women buy less and wear better, subscribe for more honest fashion analysis and watch our next video on the construction details that separate real quality from clever marketing. It is on your screen right now.